Hey everybody, happy Friday. Let's get ready for school. Hey everyone, happy Friday. Like I said, I hope you had a great Thursday. And I hope you had a great week. Let's make it one more day and then we have the weekend, which I'm very excited for. If this was your first week back at school after break, I hope you had a good first week. It wasn't bad. But yeah, so I am kind of tired and ready to, have the weekend, but like school wasn't bad. Okay, so back with talking about the Sarah Fraser podcast. I also don't know if you can hear my music or not. I have it turned like really down because like I have family that's still sleeping, so I have it like turned down. So I don't know if you can really hear it, but it's okay if you can. Anyway, like I was saying, so talking about the Sarah Fraser podcast, so where I left off not yesterday, the last time I talked to you guys was I was talking about the fact that I thought that Drake was sick in the video, but I didn't know for sure because I was listening to it first before I played the video because I didn't know. On Spotify, it said there was a part 1 and a part 2, but if you go to YouTube, like, that's just all one thing. So it's not part 1, part 2, it's just one thing. So I guess the YouTube version might be better, because then you don't have to, like, see two things, you just watch it all in one go. But anyway, so he was, like, kind of, his voice sounded different. And I was like, I don't remember him sounding like that, but maybe he does. But then later on, we find out in the podcast that he is, in fact, actually sick because he has, like, this big old cough, and then he says that he's sick. So, that's how we know that he's sick. So, I was telling you guys about how it was, like, a good podcast, but there was something that just didn't go well. And like I said, like, Sarah Fraser did a much better job in this podcast than she did in her previous one. Not for a lack of, like, being, like, it's a bad podcast, but in the context of, like, what you're, like, the person you're interviewing needed. And I think in that moment, the person that Sarah was in that interview was not the person that Drake needed in that moment. And so because of that, I just didn't really love the original one. It wasn't bad. I'm not saying that it was. I'm just saying that it wasn't my favorite interview. Her energy was, like, just too much. But yeah, in this interview, it was, wrong side. It was a lot different. It was, like, he was feeling, I don't want to say he was feeling a lot better, but he was, like, there was definitely a difference and a change in demeanor from, April, I think, or March, sorry, not April, March to now. Sorry, you guys, if I look like I'm looking weird, I'm, like, I think I put my camera lower, and it's bothering me, but it's okay. So, like I was saying, this interview hit a lot better, and I think landed a lot better. Like, they talked about, like, a lot of happier topics than just, like, the typical interview of, like, talking about Quiet on Set. They talked about, like, his music and his family, and it was really nice to actually hear stories about, like, his family, because we don't really know much about him. Obviously, we do know his parents. We do know his parents. I think people typically have a preference of who they like, though. I don't think people typically like Robin. And I'm not going to say that I'm any different, because that would be lying, and lying is not good. So, but that's another story for another day. One that I probably will not be sharing on here. But yeah. So we got, like, those kinds of stories. We got, like, I'm trying to remember what else we got. We got kind of the talk of The Masked Singer, which there's only so much you can say in an interview that's different. So I've kind of already heard like a lot of that stuff. But it's still good, it's still refreshing to hear. But you do get to hear a little bit more about like if you could choose the costume and stuff like that. And that was really interesting. And I really do like The Masked Singer, so having him on The Masked Singer was just like so great. I loved that. But anyway, so then, they're talking and it's normal, whatever, and then he talks about his family, like on his dad's side, which I didn't realize how many siblings he had. I don't know why I thought he had less. Like, I know I kind of forgot that he had siblings on his dad's side because the only siblings we really know of are the ones on his mom's side. But it seems like Robin and Joe both had kids before they got together and then had Drake. But, like, Drake's the only kid they had together. But, anyway. So, I kind of forgot that... Well, actually, I didn't forget. I didn't know. Well, I think I did. I think I did because I think he talks about his sister at one point. Like, once. Like, I think it's in I think it might be in the Jordi Rosado interview. I'm not sure. So no one quote me on that because I'm not entirely sure if that's right. But I swear I thought he said something about his brother. Like we know he said something about his brother. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Okay, I fixed it. So, like, I swear in the Jordi Rosado interview, he says something like talking about, like, he talks about his brother, because his brother is the one that, like, I think helped him, like, go to rehab, but I think he says something about his sister. I think he says, like, he was testing his family, and I think it was, like, something like that. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, so no one quote me on that. So, yeah, no one quote me on that, because I could be completely wrong. But, anyway, so that happens, and we get to hear more about the family, and he's laughing, and he's having a good time, and it's great. But one thing that interviewers do a lot, and I noticed it with this one interviewer that he did, or one interview that he did with one interviewer. So, one thing I noticed a lot of interviewers tend to do, and it's not a good thing, so, like, if you're planning an interview, don't do this. They tend to take, like, questions that are, like, sad or, like, depressing or whatever, and they do, like, a sandwich. Don't make a sad question sandwich. In other words, what I'm saying is basically, a lot of people, when they do these, like, interviews, and they have, like, sadder questions, or, like, questions that could be, like, disturbing or triggering or whatever, I'm not saying don't ask them, or, like, I'm not gonna say, like, all of them are triggering, but questions that could be a little bit more sad or depressing, they do, like, a sandwich. Or, not really a sandwich, but it's like a salad, where they, like, you don't really know where they're gonna go with it. Like, for example, like, they talk about, like, in this, like, okay, well, I can give another example outside of the Sarah Fraser. There was this one interview I watched, and he was going, like, back and forth with questions constantly. So he was asking, like, a sad question, then he was asking, like, a happier question, and then he would go back to another sad question, and then he would go back to another happier one. And so it's kind of like you were getting, like, emotional whiplash from, like, the way he was asking the questions. And I mean, Sarah wasn't like that, but hers wasn't, like, the greatest either, because, like, so I think she asked about a little bit about Quiet on Set, like, in the beginning, and then they get into, like, happier topics, like talking about, like, touring and nonstop flight and a lot of other, much happier topics that Drake would much rather be talking about. And, like, I get that. I get that, like, some of these topics are harder to talk about. Like, obviously, you don't want to be talking about Quiet on Set 24/7. Okay. I kind of have to hurry, but it's okay. So, like I was saying, you don't want to be talking about something like quiet on set 24/7. And I get that. I get that he doesn't want to do that because I would be the same way. And I'm like, I completely get you, Drake. Like, and so, like, this interview does something very similar. It's not entirely the same, but it is similar. Like, I do think that, she might talk a little bit about quiet on set in the beginning of the interview. I don't recall entirely, so if anyone knows, let me know, because I don't entirely remember if they talk about quiet on set in the beginning. But something happens later on in the interview, like towards the end, that is just okay. And this is nothing against Sarah. It was just like not the smartest move. So basically, we're getting towards closer to the end of the interview. Not the actual end, but like closer. And we had gone from talking to like, I think about like music or something. And then I think they were talking about something how like he doesn't love to talk about quiet on set. Like he doesn't like it. Like he doesn't mind it because it can open up conversations of like, hey, you know, like with fans and like with fan interactions, it can open up those kinds of like conversations. So he doesn't mind it, but he doesn't like talking about quiet on set. And we're all like, okay, yeah, we 100% get that. But in saying that, like, he was not in the wrong or anything like that, but, you know, in true interviewer fashion, Sarah goes out on a limb, not really goes out on a limb, but goes out and says, well, what don't you like talking about? What part don't you like talking about, or what don't you like talking about it? Because I don't know what she was thinking. I think maybe she was thinking of it in a different light, like maybe the documentary in itself, not really the contents of the documentary. But either way, it was an odd question to ask, because even if you're just asking about the documentary, it's what the documentary like holds. It's what it represents that's more the darker, heavier stuff, you know, rather than just the documentary in itself. And in which case, like, it was just, again, like I said, it wasn't the best question to ask, like, at all. And it was just kind of dumb. But this part of the interview took a lot of people by surprise. Not by what she says, but by what he says. Because I know it took me by surprise. And, like, and I was just not ready or prepared for what was going to happen. So, obviously, like I said, she says, like, oh, well, what part don't you like talking about? Like, what don't you like talking about? And Drake flat out says, oh, probably the R word. I'm not gonna actually say the R word here because I don't think I can. I think I'm gonna get like, I'm not monetized, but I don't know. I don't think I could say it. But like, if y'all know what the R word is in response to what Drake has been through, then y'all know. So I'm watching this interview for the first time. Now keep in mind, this was like, I think the first time ever, at least on an interview, that Drake has used the R word. Like, I don't think he's ever used the R word before. At least not in an interview. In real life, who knows? I think he's like written it out before in like a, back in the day when like they used to have like a Discord server or something. I think he's written the word out before, but he's never said it. And I think in some other comments or something, like he's written the word out, so he's established like that's what that is. Like he established that, but he's never said it. No, he's not on an interview. Again, like I said, in his personal life, I have no idea where he is in that journey. But you know, I never thought we were gonna hear that word come out of his mouth. So I'm minding my own business and I'm watching this interview and I'm sitting in my room and like all of a sudden he goes, oh, probably the R word. And I'm like, I have this like look on my face. I almost like, thank God I wasn't drinking anything or eating anything, because I probably would have choked on like water or like something. Like I probably would have choked on my water or on my coffee had I been like drinking water or coffee when I was watching it. I don't think I was just chilling. But yeah, so that was the first time we had ever heard that word come out of his mouth. And it was just like, we were taken so aback by it. But it was like, it's the truth. It was harsh. And even I don't think Sarah knew what to do with it. Because, like, she has this, like, look on her face where it's like, oh, shoot. Like, I mean, she doesn't entirely have it, but she kind of does, like, a laugh. But I have a feeling it's more of an awkward laugh more than, like, a hee. It's an awkward laugh. You could tell. Okay, so we will talk more about this another day. Because I don't think I'm entirely done, so I might continue this one, because I do want to talk about this portion of it just a little bit longer, and then we're going to get into the next topic. But I do have to go. So, first setting spray, second setting spray. Okay, I'm going to do lips off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, and this is the final product. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a great day. Have a blessed day. Jesus loves you. I love you, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.